to basically the whole region of Guangdong, we will be expecting strong wind and gale. So we need to remind our units to keep an eye on the weather forecast, and you'd better stay indoors for safety reasons. And after the wind and strong rain has passed, you could go out for activities. So for the typhoon to be officially landing, I think the standard is that about 70%, more than 75% of the eye of the typhoon is on land. That means the typhoon is landed. So how do you compare the Ma-on with the other typhoons of this year? Well, from the historical record, we are expecting the wind at the scale of about 14 to 15, and the precipitation in the northern ridge would be weaker than that of the south. So generally speaking, the precipitation level of this time is weaker than the ones that we experienced this year. Therefore, the characteristics of Ma-on is strong wind but relatively smaller rainfall. After the entrance from the West Pacific to our coastal region, it's moving faster, so the velocity of the typhoon is increasing. But last but not least, I want to remind our audience that if you are near the landing site of the typhoon, you're advised to stay indoors, and if you're at home, you're suggested to clear the balcony and close the windows for safety reasons. Now I will go over to my colleague Yang. Thank you very much for your report at the meteorological station. And now it's my turn. I'm Yang. I'm right now at Chuandao County of Jiangmen City of Guangdong. Here you can see we are at the coastal region. We are at a very safety distance, so don't worry. This is typhoon number 9 of this year, Ma-on, about to land in Guangdong. Usually, this place is filled with a lot of tourists. It's a major tourist attraction. But currently, the coastal region has been cleared, and all of the scenic spots are now closed, and the tourists have already been evacuated for safety reasons. To let you have a direct impression of how strong the wind is, now I'm approaching nearer to the coastal line. And I don't know if you can hear the whistle of the wind from my microphone or from the camera. But now we are experiencing very strong wind and precipitation. We will go as near as we can so that you can have a direct impression of this typhoon. We will be giving a live cross twice today from my side, from my location. We will bring you the latest report of the path of the typhoon and also inform you of some of the preventive measures against the typhoon. I have to use a towel to wipe the raindrops from our camera lens. Now let's go over here. So this is a famous tourist location, Chuandao County. There are several scenic spots and tourist attractions in these places, but all of them are already closed down. And there are someone taking pictures. I think I need to remind him to stay safe. Watch out. It's very dangerous. As you can see, the seawater has already submerged this platform, and the water level is rising as we speak. I also need to stay safe. This is relatively a safe location. I also want to remind our audience, if you are within the range of the impact of the typhoon, you need to stay safe and do not come close to the coastal line because that might constitute safety risks. That might constitute risks to you. I arrived here at about 8 o'clock this morning. In July the 12th last year, we are also experiencing a typhoon, but I think that the wind scale of this year is stronger than that of last year. But I believe that the coastal regions are already fully prepared for the impact of the typhoon. So we feel responsible to tell you the latest updates of the typhoon, as well as some of the preventive measures against the impact of typhoon. We have reporters all over the coastal cities of Guangdong, and we will bring you live reports from different locations. We are going to have an interview of the head of this county, Mr. Wan, and he will tell us more about the situation. This is a coastal road. But now it has already been submerged in seawater, and I think we'd better leave here as soon as we can. That's the tourist center of this island. And you can tell how strong the wind is from the movement of the trees. You can see that far ahead there are raging waters and strong wind, but don't worry, at such an extreme weather condition, almost all the people would be evacuated and would be resettled in safe places. We'll not go over there for safety reasons. We'll just stay here. Alright, dear viewers, that's my first live across, and now I will hand over to my colleague in Yangjiang. Over to you.
好的，我现在所在的地方呢是阳江海陵岛的罗州公园外面啊，现场的风浪是非常的大。
I'm right now in Yangjiang, and this is Luzhou Park.
如果要在这边想站得稳的话，
What you are seeing is very strong waves, and winds, and precipitation, and I have to hold on to this pole to stabilize myself. So at 4 a.m. this morning, we were woken up by the strong wind because it has been blowing all night, and it's actually getting stronger as time goes by this morning. This place has already been cleared, and all the tourists are already evacuated. So basically there are no tourists at the moment and no vehicles on the road. The dustbins are already blown to the ground, and the billboards are basically waving in the strong wind, and some of the trees are broken in half. 台风路径里面看到的一个情况呢，其实海陵岛现在已经进入了一个12级风圈的一个状态。那我们 From what I can see right now, the wind scale here is about 12. And this is a local tourist attraction, but from last night, because of the warning, this typhoon alert, all the people have been evacuated. We were at the coastal line earlier today, but for safety reasons, we have already retreated to safer locations. The wind is really strong from what I can feel right now. You can see that the sea waves are hitting the banks violently. So there are two roads to the coastal line, the dam as well as the bridge, but now all the roads are being temporarily closed down for safety reasons. So there is no way in or out of this island, and all the people are warned because of this typhoon, and they are suggested to stay indoors, and please stay safe because the wind is really very strong. As you can see that our camera is also a bit shaky. And thanks to our cameraman, he is trying to, as much as he can, to hold on to the camera.
就完成了一次的这个检查。那像这些泥石流易发点呢，也有人做过一些巡查。
All the lampposts were rechecked last night to make sure that they stay stand and they stay upright.
在昨天下午6点之前也都已经安置好了。
And all the people have already been resettled and evacuated. Actually, last night, a lot of the tourists were still having some, snacks at the roadside stand. But currently, all of the tourists have already been evacuated. We can see that this is the situation of the island. Actually, from 9 a.m. of the 23rd, a level 4 emergency contingency plan has been issued, and also the level has been raised from 4 to 3 to 2. So right now, about 24 action groups have been deployed in terms of preventive measures and actions. And all of the boats were ordered to stay in harbor for safety reasons. And all the fishing boats have stopped operated since last day. And now all of the people have already been evacuated. Good morning, dear viewers. I am Zhang Qi. I'm right now at Yangjiang city of Guangdong Province. This is one of the harbor for fishing boats. As you can see, a lot of the boats are now in dock. And the Typhoon Ma-on is approaching as we speak. It's about 100 kilometers away from this harbor.
其实大家现在通过画面看到，比如说像阳江海陵岛这个地方，它的雨现在是不是太强？实际上整一个天气啊，在今天凌晨就是
So currently, the wind here is actually not very strong.
现在虽然整个台风本体主体在往路上来进行一个靠，但是现在这个雨
Although that the typhoon is not here yet, we are experiencing some rainfall and gale, but not very strong. This is mainly because of the characteristic of this typhoon. According to the weather forecast, we will be expecting stronger winds, but weaker rainfall. And Yangjiang is actually at the more exterior part of its range. According to the weather forecast, the western part of Guangdong we'll be expecting precipitation and strong rainfall in parts of the region, and the strong rain will be continuing to tomorrow. But in weaker scale.
那我们说，现在这个我们在的这个阳江海陵岛的这一块，它其实是一个旅游岛。那旅游岛也就是
Currently, we are in Yangjiang. This is a tourist attraction. This is one of the islands of the coastal city. Normally, in summer, there will be a lot of tourists that will come here for sightseeing.
实际上是已经是进行了一个关停，所以在昨天。 白天的时候，很多游客就已经
Now all of the
陆续的开始去离岛了。那
the coastal, the beaches, they have the coastal tourist attractions and beaches have already been closed down.
最主要的一个工作就是
And according to estimation, there are about 10,000 tourists right now in this island. So warning have been issued to notify the tourists to stay off from the beach. We also have a lot of coastal hotels, and the guards of these hotels will keep an eye on the safety of the tourists and remind those that want to go out to take pictures or to to witness the typhoon out of curiosity. It is actually not raining at the moment as we speak, but we are experiencing a strong wind and gale. Currently, you can see some pedestrians on roads.
那到了现在，其实因为大家感受到这个风和雨其实在减少的，所以很多人会来到马路上来进行。
This is because that is not rainy at the moment, so some people choose to go outside to take a look on their own. And there are even some fishing boats that are already, they get on board their fishing boats to check out the condition of the boats. The other day, we were talking to some fishermen, and some of them said that after hearing this information, they actually row their boats into the harbor to keep the boats from being damaged in strong wind. 一个渔港码头给大家带来这么一场直播。现在随着台风本体正在。We're currently in the Heightened island of Yangjiang city. As you can see that the typhoon is now approaching and is about to land. We're experiencing strong wind, but no precipitation at the moment. So most of the rainfall will happen in the southern part, in the southern ridge of the typhoon, and at the northern part, the rain will be much weaker. There are about 300 fishing boats in this harbor, and almost all of them are already harbored for safety reasons. And if it's not raining anymore, some fishermen would go on the boats to make sure to check out some of the attributes of the ships. I think this one of the characters for typhoon-related weather is that it changes in a second. So this morning we were experiencing intermittent rainfall and gale. There are about 300 fishing boats that were not docked in this harbor. And there are also people that are under patrol duty. They need to keep an eye on the boats, on the fishing boats, and also to make sure that when the typhoon lands, the fishermen needs to go on shore.
目前啊，现在像广东的西部这几个地势，像江门、阳江、茂名、湛江这几个
Currently,
受台风影响最
in
大的
the
这几个地方，
western
其
part,
实都是
such as Yangjiang, Maoming,
这
Zhanjiang,
么一个举措，包括像停课、停市、停运、停工等等。
and a lot of the businesses are already being suspended, such as some public transportation, schools, and fishing, and so on. People are suggested to stay indoors and avoid outdoor travels.
这些沿海，包括这个南海、近海的这个地方，已经出现了10到14级的这样的一个强风的天气。
In some western part of Guangdong, there are very strong wind to the scale of about 12 in terms of Belfort scale.
但是我们其实在这个地方发现很多的这个常年在沿海生活的这个渔民，包括这个海陵岛上的一些人，其实对这样的天气应该是一个比较习以为常的，所以很多人也会在现在其实这个
Being a fisherman at the coastal cities, I think most of them are very used to this kind of weather condition. So they actually feel very at ease, and currently because it's not rainy, some of them are out and about, and then they are checking the condition of their boats. Over there, you can see that there's a fisherman that is doing some maintenance work on his boat. As we mentioned, most of the boats and fishermen were suggested to stay on shore, but there are some fishermen that still choose to go on board to check out the condition of their boats. Despite the strong wind and the precipitation, they do this out of experience, but accidents do happen in the past out of negligence. So we still hope that if you are watching, you need to, if you yourself is a fisherman, or your family members or friends are in the fishing business, and you are near this impacted region, please stay indoors for safety reasons. So when this typhoon was initially formed, the forecast was actually different from the reality right now. At the beginning, it expected to be landing in Huizhou region and almost all of the Pearl River Delta is expected to feel its full impact. But currently, the most likely, the most possible landing location will be from Yangjiang to Zhanjiang of Guangdong, within a parameter of about 100 kilometers. And at the beginning, we expected to be a tropical cyclone, but from last night, it has been intensified, and the strongest wind scale will be reaching scale 12, and velocity is also increasing. It's now moving at about 30 to 35 kilometers per hour. So in the most region of Guangdong, we are expecting strong wind and precipitation rainfall today. And even violent rain in some places of Guangdong. Tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, the rainfall will be significantly weakened. I think now the most probable time for landing is about 1 to 2 hours. As you can see, the wind is still very strong, so we also need to stay in full alert. Any negligence might lead to accidents or even casualties and damage. And that's why the local government has already suspended some public services, including public transportation, and also advise people to stay indoors.
As the typhoon approaches,
we are experiencing strong wind and rainfall. And for this typhoon, the wind is very strong, but the precipitation is a bit weaker than ones we experienced before. We will be bringing you the latest reports in today's live stream, so please stay tuned with us. We can see from the far side that this is where the Bohewan Bridge is located. And for safety concerns, from 7 p.m. of yesterday, this bridge has been closed down and no pedestrians or vehicles were allowed to pass this bridge. And now we will hand over to our mic to my colleague. I'm right now in Heightened Island of Yangjiang city. You can see that wind is definitely getting stronger, and I have to hold on to the lamppost to stabilize myself. As you can see, the wind is definitely getting substantially stronger. I'm holding on to this lamppost to stabilize myself. I think from behind me you can also see that the sea level is rising and it's very turbulent. You can see waves that are getting higher and higher. The wind is blowing drastically onto the trees so that it's shaking violently. And some similar trees have already been blown down to the ground. So the two roads that lead to this island have already been closed for safety concerns. We are now at the exterior part of this park. This is a local scenic location for tourists, but currently it has been cleared and evacuated. All the tourists have been advised to stay indoors and away from the beaches. The wind scale is intensified. I'm not sure if you can hear me clearly because the wind is really strong at the moment. Are you a staff member here? I think you need to move indoors. The wind is too strong. Please stay safe. You can see that on this billboard it reads, "Welcome to the Heightened Island." And it is also suffering from the damage and impact of the strong wind.
我们现在躲在这个下面的位置，来给大家播报一下现场的情况。那现在的风还是非常大的，我们看到周围的植物被吹得非常厉害。
I'm bringing you live report from Yangjiang of Guangdong
而且
Province.
非常夸张的是，
You can see that the wind and rain are both getting more intensified.
雨套刚刚被这个台风直接吹掉。
I was actually wearing
所以现场的风力，包括我们看到这个镜头里面
this water preventive boots,
非常的强的一个状
this
态。
cover, but it's been completely torn by the strong winds, as you can see.
好的，因为我们现场的这个风已经越来越大了，我们可能准备要找一个地方，暂时到室内地方躲一下风。那下面把时间交给我们
I
湛江的同
think
事
we
刘畅。
better find a shelter as the wind gets stronger and stronger, and we will go over to Zhanjiang to my colleague Liu Chang.
我是广东台记者刘畅，我现在所处的位置是湛江市的金沙湾海滨浴场。
I'm Liu
那么
Chang
从
with
昨天晚上
Guangdong
开始
TV
湛江市市区
Currently
已经
I'm
是
in
生效了台风的
Jinshawan
红色预警信号。
of
来，我们看一
Zhanjiang.
下，我们看一下海边。
And from
目
yesterday,
前的话，湛江市
the
的
city government
风雨
issued
还
the
并不
red
明显。
alert for
从昨天晚上
typhoon.
开始，台风马鞍的等级是
Currently,
预计可以达到12
we
级。
are not
湛江市区是位
experiencing
于
very
7级的风圈内。
obvious,
那么
very
今天早上7点钟开始，
strong
记
wind
者
or
能感受到明
rainfall
显
at
的
the
市区内
moment.
有阵风的一个
So
吹
the
拂，
scale
但
of the
是
wind
雨
is
势目
about
前还是不明
force
显的。
7. We did experience some
我
rain,
们现在来到的
some
是湛江市民
gale
日
in the
常，
morning,
比较喜欢
but
进
it's
行
not
休闲的
raining
金沙湾海滨
heavily.
浴场。受到台风马鞍的影响呢，可以看到
This
潮
is
水已
one
经
of
明显
the
的往上涨。
recreational center for local
在
people.
平时没有涨
This
潮的
is
时
one of
候
the most
水位
popular
是预计会
beaches
达到小船停
in
泊的一个位置。
Zhanjiang.
但受到台风马鞍的影响，目前潮水正在往上涨，接近蔓延至一个观景平台的台阶区域。
Because of the
可能
impact
在
of the
台风登陆之
typhoon,
后，
the
潮水会有进
tide
一步的一个蔓延
is
或者浪潮的一个上
rising,
涌。
the sea level is rising, and the seawater will probably
现在记者
submerge
其实已经可以
into
感
the
觉到有
coastal
阵
area.
风在往我们身边吹拂，远处台风马鞍带来的云层正在
We now can
湛江
experience
市区的
some
上方进行
scale
一
of
个
gale.
凝聚。预计根据湛江市气象部门的一个预测，
You can see that
台风马鞍预计会将来暴雨
the cloud
至
is
特大暴雨
forming,
的一个天气。
so that means strong precipitation and rainfall is about to come.
从目前的情况来看，湛江市区方面受到台风马鞍的影响还暂时不明显，但从24号开始，也就是昨天开始，
Currently, this place is not hit by the typhoon, but from yesterday, because the
湛江市区
government
内的交通
has
指引
issued
也是
this
预计
red
一个分
alert,
流。
and all of the fishing boats were suggested to stay in harbor and not in
已经
business.
是部分的列车进行停运，在今天25日，在今天25号，湛江西站
And
是
some
全
of
线列车
the
进行一个停运。
the trains and buses are also being suspended at the moment.
请游客不要在沙滩逗留，尽快离开沙滩。谢谢您的配合。
我们可以听到啊，刚刚浴场的广播也是重复播放了一个台风的一个预警信息，其中提到了海滨浴场进行了关闭。从昨天开始，受到台
Just
风
now,
马鞍
what
的一
you
个
were
影响，
hearing
湛江
were
市全
the
市的滨海景
broadcasted
区
warning
包含海滨浴场
to remind
都是
people
进
to
行了一
stay
个关闭。
indoors
早上我们在
and
到达
away
现场的时
from
候，也
the
有工作人
beach
员
from
对
the
海滨浴
coastal
场以
line.
及
So yesterday when we came here, there are also coastal guards that are reminding tourists to not stay too close to the beach so as to ensure everybody's safety.
目前呢，根据气象部门的预测，台风马鞍将与12级的台风风力登陆
According
在
to the
阳江
weather
至
forecast,
福川的沿海。
we will be experiencing a wind
那么目前
scale of about 4 to
湛江
12,
市的
and the
海上
typhoon
施
will
工风
be
电区
landing
所有的施工船
around
只
the
都是
Yangjiang
已经进
city.
入了锚地，风电平台啊、船
Now
舶
all of the
等
working
所有人
boats
员也
are
都撤离，全市的
docked
渔船也是回港避风。
and all the people and staff members and workers were evacuated.
再说。好的，那么我们目前也看到，有一些市民还是趁着台风尚未登陆的时间，在安全的观景平台上进行一个
Now you
游
can
玩。
see
但
some
是这样子，待会
pedestrians
会
that
议会
choose
工作人员对
to
他们
go
进行
out,
一个劝。
and this time is
湛江市目前的情
actually
况就是这样子。
not that
我们会将
dangerous,
信
but
号交
I
给深圳
think
的同事。
some coastal guards will probably come over to advise them to go back. That's all my part for this moment.
好的，谢谢刘畅。那现在呢，我在这个地方呢，就是深圳北站的一个售票大厅那里。
刘畅。
其实在我身后面呢，现在是已经排起了一些队伍。
I'm right now at the Shenzhen North train station, and this is the ticket office. You can see that lines are forming at the moment. There are about 20 windows in the ticket office, and all of them are open right now. And there are a lot of passengers that are they want to return the tickets, or they want to change to other shifts. They want to change time for the trains. According to the latest weather forecast, the Typhoon Ma-on is expected to hit the coastal regions of Guangdong.
确认了这个路线的安全之后呢，其实啊，从今天早上的8点钟开始，陆续呢是有一些车的班次呢。
The railway authority are doing some emergency checks of the rails and also the stations, because there are a lot of trains that are being suspended at the moment, and after the typhoon, then they will be restoring operation.
从我这个售票大厅大屏幕这里的也是能看得到，是一些的出发的车次。那其实目前来说是包括去往厦门北。
On the screen, you can see that there are trains that goes to Xiamen, Shantou, Guangzhou, and Wuhan. So most of the trains are heading north and east, and most of the trains that go to the western direction were now suspended because of the possible impact of typhoon. So you can check out the application of 12306 for the latest updates.
我现在给大家用 iPad 来演示一下吧。比如说我查询到的一个是昨天有一个
To my knowledge,
G2908 次
I could show you that yesterday
这一趟的列车呢，本来是应该是去往
G2908 train that goes to Liuzhou, which is the western part of Guangxi Province.
它目前呢，在上面显示就是列车的组织运输调整，今天是不开
Is now suspended because because of the fear of impact of typhoon. So this is one of the trains that have been suspended.
是一个 G6042 次。这一个班次呢，也是从深圳北站
There is also a train. There's also train G6042 that goes to Lodi of Hunan Province. And because this train goes to the north, and right now it has already been restored. But I want to remind you that the suspended trains, the train that has not been suspended might also be under some adjustment due to the latest weather forecast, so you need to check out the latest information on your own before you travel. Right now, most of the flights at Zhanjiang airport are normal at the moment, but you also need to keep an eye on the latest information. I'm not sure if you can see from this perspective. The weather in Shenzhen is actually quite fine at the moment. And we are outside the wind force number 7 circle. So in the rush hour of this morning, the rainfall is actually quite strong, but I think the morning peak was not heavily impacted. As from what I can see, the order on roads is quite normal. There are also some indoor shelters for citizens to seek shelter in emergency situation. I also talked to some local indoor locations, and if you are really in need, you can go to these locations for shelter. So this is the information to you. If you are in need, you can go to the public account of the Shenzhen Emergency Response Bureau, and from this WeChat account, you can check out some of the shelters that's for the shelters. Then you can find the ones that is nearest to you to seek shelter.
就刚才我也向那车站的工作人员他们有了解过，其实从昨天到今天前来咨询说需要退票或者
I talked to the
一直是不少的。
staff at the railway station,
这一个列车的车次
and they mentioned that many tourists came here yesterday to return their tickets or change to other train
其实也是
shifts.
提醒各位了，在这一种的这处于一个不稳定的天气的时候呢，其实对于自己一个出行计划要进行一个提前。
So we want to remind the passengers that if you're about to travel, you need to adjust your schedule ahead of time and watch closely the weather forecast and stay tuned with the latest reports.
Uh, 目前来说呢，我们从前方收到的一个信息，就是我们派出的多路的记者呢，一直都是在前线的，包括有在江门的。
Today we have reports from multiple locations in Jiangmen,
还有在另外一边的海陵岛。那其实
茂名
现在那些地方呢，都是风雨大作。
and Hailing Island of Jiangmen. And I think they are now experiencing very strong impact because typhoon is expected to be landing in the adjacent areas. And this is my part for the live stream for the Ma-on typhoon. Thank you very much. Nice to see you again. I'm Yangjiang. This is my second live across. I was at the door of Taishan city of Guangdong. We witnessed some strong wind and rainfall. And compared to the situation now, it is now much more peaceful than the location where we were at. This is a service center and community center for the local people. And the conference room has been temporarily made into a shelter and evacuation location for local people. We apologize for any signal loss or some unstable connections. This is inevitable in extreme weather conditions. As you can see, the rainfall is getting weaker than before. This is the conference room for the community office that has been changed into a temporary evacuation center for local tourists. And you can see 5 beds have been added. There are some local residents. Most of them are fishing households. They are in a fishing business, and yesterday they were evacuated into this place yesterday. And you can see most of them are very at ease. They were chatting. There are some makeshift beds, and there are some linens that has been prepared for the residents.
在我身旁的是咱们善德村的村委书记梅坤儿，最近几天呢，也是他作为网格员的一份子，积极地
This
带动
is
咱们
the
的村的干部
secretary
帮
of
助群众的一些转移。您来介绍一下咱们
community
这次首先
office.
应急物资都有哪一些？
So can you tell us more about the preparation work that you've done? We prepare the makeshift beds, the cupboards. We also prepare mineral water
就是大家
and
平时比较
some
常用的
instant
方便面
food
八宝粥、矿泉水，然后牙膏、牙刷、
for the
这些
people.
被褥我们能打开看一看吗？其实挺舒服，我摸起来挺舒服的。这天气
And
其实
also
挺
some
热的，里
daily
面呢是有空
utensils.
调。
I think the bedding actually feels quite good.
其实在这里面感觉
And this place is also air conditioned.
这么一个大的房间里面有三个立式的空调，现在开的是26度，而且门外的门还是开着的。其实整体的在里面的一个温度。
There are 3 air conditioners in this office. And so the temperature is quite enjoyable.
就是我们平常见的这种太空被，并不是很厚。其实呢，就是当一个阻挡风就可以了。因为最近还是虽然说台风天，温度呢还是比较热的。这边就是我们也是床。
This is the cupboard that they prepare for the residents, for the fishermen.
硬板床，其实硬板床对腰好。
This is also used as a makeshift
这个
bed.
房间里面大概安置了有多少个群众？
现在是17个。
So how many people were settled here?
一些地方的人。
17.
浙江的全部都是浙江的。
Where are they from?
最近咱们为了转移安置群众，您
From
和咱
Zhanjiang.
们的一些同事都做了哪些工作？除了说是提供这个应急保障物资以外，
What kind of work have you and your colleague managed to do over the last few days? We came to the village to notify the residents to stay indoors and also remind the fishermen to not go in business. All of them are ordered to stay in harbor. If they do not want to go to this site, they can also go to the evacuation and shelter in the towns. They can also seek temporary accommodation in their friends and relative homes.
下过雨的，我用手稍微的比划一下，还可以。其实宽度呢能保证基本的一个
Let me feel the bed. I think it's quite good as a makeshift beds.
7、8、9、10、11、12、13、14、15，然后上面还可以有，大概能住，刚说了17个人差不多，里面的空间还是比较宽敞的。我们再找一位安置的群众，我们来说一说吧。
Yeah, as she mentioned, there are 17 people that are temporarily settled down here. We'll talk to some of the residents here. Hello, I'm with Guangdong TV, and this is a live stream for the Typhoon Ma-on. So when were you transferred here? Yesterday. I think they took very good care of us, and they provide accommodation to us. I think we are used to seek shelter in the community office when extreme weather condition happens. Thank you very much. As you can see, this kind of bottled water are also provided.
男同胞们应该是在一起聊天，整体的感觉很舒服。好，我们出来走走吧。刚好呢，因为我们采访完了咱们那个村书记以外呢，整个镇咱们。
After interviewing the local village secretary, we will talk to the head of the town to tell us more about the arrangement in the scenic location. So what arrangement did you make? We notify the 2 scenic locations to close down the area. and evacuate the tourists. We have about 320 tourists. For those that choose to stay on the island, we ask the hotel to take responsibility and provide services and to ensure the tourists' safety. We also have asked the tourists to sign the pledge for safety, this kind of safety pledge. And they are not allowed to go to the beaches for safety concerns at the moment. There are about 69 tourists that voluntarily choose to stay on the island.
现在我来看一看最新的一个天气情况。我们稍后会有我们的同事周荣一继续会在广东省气象局为大家带来最新的天气预报。按照我所
My friend, my colleague Zhou Rong will also be bringing you the latest reports in other locations. According to the latest weather forecast, the typhoon is expected to be landing in Yangxi to Wuchuan area. Please stay tuned for our reports.
很多游客会来这边，比如说川岛的那个山嘴码头、山嘴港，就是我刚第一个。
The major economic pillar for this place is actually tourism.
在平时可能周中一天有5000人到6000人。
So there are two islands, 上川岛 and 下川岛 islands.
并且按照刚才万国有副镇长的介绍，已经将
A lot of people would choose to go to these resorts at weekends, but right now all of the resorts are closed down. If the tourists choose to stay on the islands, they are advised to stay indoors, and they also need to sign the safety responsibility pledges. During the impact of the typhoon, they cannot go outside the hotel for safety reasons.
可能是因为好奇，想拍拍台风的一个感觉。其实这样的还是稍微来说比较危险。希望各位在沿海的居民和村民能够。
We did see some local residents that still choose to go out against strong wind and rainfall to take pictures. We actually strong against such an action. I think you need to be responsible for your own safety and stay indoors.
台风前后现场的风力、雨情、水情的情况。第二方面，我们特别希望能够告诉大家，当每一个地方应对台风、防御台风到底做了哪些措施，因为。每一年广东可能都会来台风。
We are bringing you live reports from different locations of Guangdong, and different locations also have different countermeasures against the typhoon, because these places are actually quite experienced in this regard, because they experience typhoon almost each year. So Zhou Rong talked to me about the latest weather forecast from the meteorological station. Thank you for the live reports from my colleague. And we can see that the wind and the rainfall is getting stronger in multiple locations of the province. We now talk to the local experts in the meteorological station. So can you tell us more about the latest updates?
所以可以说是
So Ma-on is now partially landed.
那一般我们刚才前面也提到过，一般登陆要求2/3以上的，就是大部分眼要上到陆地上，我们称为登陆。目前呢，接近一半，
As we
目前还
mentioned,
没有完全登陆上去。所以按照这个位置
it
来
will
看，
be
基本上就在
officially
2/3这
landed
个
when the eye of the typhoon, when 2/3 of the eye
也就是在
are on land.
10点之间。
And right now it's about half of the typhoon eye is on land.
所以目前正在登陆之
So
中。
we are expecting the landing very soon, in about 30 minutes,
要
I
待在安全
think.
的地方做好防御工作。
那目前它的中心风力有多强呢？
目前中心风力有
Right now
12
it's actually the most dangerous situation. The impact are mostly felt in a lot of the locations.
一般要登陆之后
So
受着
if
陆地
you
的
are
摩擦
at the
强度
hit
才会产生
region,
强度
please stay
如果还没完全
indoors.
登上去，目前强度还会保持在台风的强度。
那目前哪些地
The
方的
typhoon
雨
is
势
now
和风势会比较大
not
呢？
fully
从
landed.
珠江口一直到粤西
So
这一
where
带
are the
都
most
非常
hit
大
regions?
普遍会有10
From the
到
Pearl
12级的阵风
River
个别的可
mouth
能会有14、15级
to the
阵风
western part
所
of
以这一带的风
Guangdong,
特别明显。
we are
特别需要注意防御。
experiencing
雨的方面呢
strong
也
wind
是
of
集
about
中在粤西这一
10
带
to 12
另外呢，从
force,
整个结构来看，
force
实际
10
上
to 12.
它的大的降水，
This
强的
is
降水
will
还是在
be
以
the
偏
raining
南的区域。
region.
所以目前北半部分呢，虽然到陆地上了，但是北面的降水还不是特别大。要
This
等
is
到
the
登陆之后
northern
呢，
ridge
南
of the
半部分
typhoon,
强
but
的
it is
降
not
水
raining very
才会
heavily
到达陆地
at
上，
the
到
north
时
at
候
the
降水会
moment.
进一步的下滑。
When it
所以防御
was
的角度来
when
说，
it is
整个
fully
经济粤西这一
landed,
带特别
when the
要注意
southern part,
强降水造成的
especially
影
when the
响。
southern parts, the
那我们
southern
现在
ridge
我所在的
lands,
广州好像还比较平静。
the
那这次的马
precipitation
鞍
will
会对
become
广州有怎样的影
significantly
响？
由
stronger.
于目前处在阳江到定白这一带，
So
距离
will the
广州呢还是
capital
有一段的
Guangzhou
距离
be
而且
hit?
接下来马鞍是总体往西边走的，
I think
不会
the
离
landing
广
site
州
will
会
be
越
a
来越
bit
近，会越来越
distant
远，所以对广州的影响相对就弱一点。广州处在它的外
and
围，
is
会
moving
有一阵一阵
further
阵雨，
from Guangzhou, so will
是
not
不像
be
粤西那么明显。风呢，偶尔会来一阵，
severely
但是
impacted
一些
by
低的地
typhoon.
方就不明显。如果是处在楼层比较高的，或者是高地上面，像山顶上或者是楼层高的楼顶啊，高楼层的，
So
会
if
感
you're
觉到一阵
in
阵
on
阵
some
当然
uprises,
跟粤西这一带比起
uprises,
来，那就小一
you
点。
will probably
那预计
feel
这种
stronger
大风大雨
impact,
会对我省的影响持续多
but
久呢？
主要就是在今天白
they're
天
not
和
very
今天夜间
significant
段，到了
compared
明
to
天，
this
随着
place that are
马鞍
directly hit.
进一步的
I think
远离我们广东，那基本上就影响就趋于结束了。所以明天就明显减小了。
We will
最重
feel
点
its
就是今天
impact
和明天夜
mostly
间。
那我们市
today,
民
you
要重
know,
点做好哪方
daytime
面
and
的防
night.
御呢？
主要2个方面嘛，尤其是
So
粤西
what
视
kind of
线
preparation should
风
the
特别大，
citizens
所以
do?
粤西视线特别注意防风。防风呢，就是
Because of
主要是
the
表现这几个
gale,
方面嘛，一个不要在高空作业嘛，另外一个户外活动尽量不要暂停，
you are
因为避
advised
免
to
高空坠
not
落
go
造成的这种
outdoors or
损害。
do work
另外一个呢，
in
就是
high
防止
rises,
这个强降
and
水引发的一些灾害。
because there might be possible falling of objects that have been blown down by the gale.
那山地呢，一旦出现强降水，特别容易引发滑坡、泥石流等地质灾害。另外呢，低洼
And
地方呢
also we
需
need
要注意
to
街涝等等
watch out
和
for
水泥
landslides
这样的一个
in
灾
the
害。
mountainous
所以重点还有
areas
2块：风和雨。
and mud flow as well.
有网友就说这一次的台
So
风好像是
wind
风
and
大
rainfall.
雨没有那么大，是有这样的一个特点。
没错，风呢，它的范围以及强度。
As you
还是比较
previously
明
mentioned,
但雨
the
呢，主要是它
wind
有
will
一
be
定的
very
不对称
strong,
的结构
but not so
大的
much
大
when
的
it comes to
大的降水呢还是在
precipitation,
海
right?
上因为它
Yes,
没
I
有登陆
think
没有
the
登陆之前
distribution
大的降水在海
of
上，所以
rainfall
在
is a
陆
bit
地上面就
uneven
感觉
this
不明显
time.
但随着它
At
的
the
登陆之后呢，
northern
粤西这
ridge,
里
most
降
of
水
the
会有明显
rainfall will
影响，
happen
所以粤
on,
西还是
you
能
know,
感觉到降
offshore.
水的感觉到
But
强
in the
降水
southern
但
part,
是外围像广州呢，
the
由于距离它
rainfall
比较远，
is much
只能
more
感受到外围一阵一
intensified.
阵的这样的阵性降水。
The
那我们看
exterior
到其实它
part
昨
will
天
not
晚上是向
be
西边偏移，
feeling
为什么今天
heavy
早上又会
impact.
偏移方向又往北了呢？为什么会有这样的方向的移动？
台风的移动
So I think the path of the typhoon actually deviates this morning, right? It is moving northward today. Yes, the path of a typhoon is changing by the second. Because of this uneven structure of this typhoon, it is only natural for us to expect some changes in its path. But the overall direction remains unchanged. This is typhoon number 9 of this year. Compared to the previous typhoons, does it count as a strong typhoon? There are 3 typhoons that has been previously landed. Shantou, Mulan, and this is Ma-on. Compared to previous more violent typhoons, this is not very strong, but it has already reached the level of typhoon, so it's not very weak as well. So are we expecting future typhoon in the near future? We did not receive any signs of an upcoming typhoon in the next week. But it's still too soon to tell whether there will be other typhoons that have been forming and will be landing in Guangdong. We will be issuing warnings if that happens. So thank you very much. We still have colleagues that bring reports from outdoors. Let's talk to our reporter Zhou Ling from Heightened Island of Yangjiang City. We are now at the garage of a local hotel. The wind is getting stronger, and actually there are trees that are being blown down to the ground to end the strong wind. We were receiving comments from our viewers asking whether the typhoon has landed, and the answer is affirmative. As we mentioned, there are several trees that were blown down to the ground. As you can see, this tree is barely supported by the lamppost. As you can see, some of the billboards and road signs are also shaking violently in the strong wind.
好的，谢谢我的同事。那我是泽燕，我现在就在茂名电白的这个博鹤渔港这里。那其实我们可以
Thank
看
you.
到
I'm
对
right
面
now in
现在
Maoming and I'm 郑泽燕。
的位置其实也是我们昨天直播的地方，但是我现在所在的
As
位
you
置
can
呢，就是
see,
这
that
个
is the
新镇
fishing dock.
滨海新区的一个渔政部门这里。那我们可以看到远处其实是有一个博鹤湾大桥，那是由于这个博鹤湾大桥在昨天晚上的时候，因为这个台
That
风
is
的来临，
the
为了
Bohewan Bridge. So yesterday, the bridge was closed down for safety concerns, and no pedestrians nor vehicles were allowed to cross this bridge. All the fishing boats are now in the ports, and all of the fishing boats are now temporarily suspended for business. So it is compulsory now for the boats to be staying in the ports. So from yesterday, the city of Maoming has issued the red alert for typhoon. So compared to half an hour ago, the wind is actually getting weaker, but the rainfall is intensified. Despite the weaker winds, I think we suggest that the residents stay indoors for safety concerns. Right now, most of the public service and the factories and transportation were closed down or suspended at the moment, and most residents are now staying at home to weather the impact of the typhoon. Currently, the more than 6,500 fishermen are already on shore, and they are not in business at the moment. I think, according to the latest forecast, the typhoon will be landed at around 10 a.m. this morning. But the wind is actually getting weaker from 8 a.m. to now. We can see that the houses of the fishermen have closed their windows and doors for the preventive as a part of the preventive actions. We want to remind you that as the typhoon approaches, the wind scale of Maoming will be getting stronger as time goes by. Before the warning was lifted, apart from those that are under emergency duties, other people are advised to stay indoors and keep your windows and doors closed. That's all for my part at the moment in Maoming.
央视新闻一直是用我们的流。 好的，现在又回到了阳江的海陵岛。那我们现在还是在这个罗州公园旁边的一个酒店车库里面。那么躲在车库里面呢，其实相对是要平静一些，但其实
We're now still at the garage in Yangjiang.
雨是非常大的，而且我们镜头里面好几棵树都已经折断了。
As you can see, the wind and the rainfall is still getting very strong. Multiple trees were blown to the ground. We are receiving comments from our viewers from multiple platforms. I think the city of Yangjiang is probably currently the most hit region by the typhoon because our viewers from other regions of Guangdong are leaving messages saying that the weather in their places are just fine.
我们不知道能不能看到有一棵树的这个枝干，其实这个枝干已经被
You can see from the lamppost, from the camera, that the trees and the lamppost are shaking violently. I think it's actually quite dangerous if you still are outdoors at the moment.
沿着这个风不停地吹过去，我们可以看到这个镜头里面的这个风浪是非常大的，而且有一阵一阵的，好像是
We're seeing broken branches everywhere, and the billboards, the road signs, and lampposts are also shaking violently, and I hope that they will not also break like the trees.
我们可以看到，现在我们对面的那个酒店里面，大部分的窗户都已经关闭了，因为按照要求台风来临的时候，所有的窗户都要关闭的。但是有少部分的
The windows of the next building, most of them were closed,
对，然后现在呢
but there are some rooms that are left with their windows open, and the curtains are blown out of the windows.
但是我们也提醒市民朋友们，这样极端的天气还是不要出门了，因为其实刚刚我们
We want to remind the residents again to stay indoors to weather the storm. I was actually hit on my finger, so it's quite dangerous to walk outside at the moment. As you can see, I actually injured myself in this process. There are falling objects everywhere. So please stay indoors. It's quite dangerous to walk outside at the moment. All the dustbins have been blown to God knows where.
对，然后您家的那边的状况怎么样？也可以在这个我们的触电新闻、珠江直播，然后包括我们的那个
You are welcome to interact with us by leaving comments or messages in our public account in multiple platforms.
我们看到有朋友说肇庆的大沙镇出太阳。 那真的很不错，因为我们现在非常羡慕这个艳阳高照的地方。
In a lot of the places, the weather in Guangdong, the weather is actually just fine at the moment, and they have not felt the impact yet.
因为原本呢，我们有一路记者是要去惠州的，那现在也是我们实时在根据这个台风马鞍的一个行进的情况，所以来到这个我们这个台风受影响的地方，给大家做这个播报。 因为对于我们年轻记者来说，确实这么大的这个台风能够，到这个台风中心附近的位置， 也是比较少的一个经验，所以我们在这边也是提醒大家，就是
We actually
不要
consider
在台
this
风
a
天里面
rare
再出门了，然
opportunity
后想了解台
to
风马鞍的
be
最新情况，
able to
看直播就
witness
可以了。
typhoon at this scale and at this distance, but for the other
那
residents
大家有什么样的问题，
nearby,
也
we
可以在
strongly
这个
advise you to stay
留
indoors
言跟我们进行
and
一个互
watch
动，
our
我
live
们
stream
在现场看到什么，也可以跟大家来讲解。那
and
我
leave
不知道有
comments
没有
if you
在海陵
want.
岛旅游的朋友在看我们的这个直播啊？那按照今天早上的一个最新的指示呢，来往海陵岛的大堤和大
If you
桥现
are
在
a
都处于一个
tourist,
封路的状态了。 啊，确实，现在风浪这么大，离岛也是一个不
All
太
the
明智的选
roads
择。我
and
们也建议
bridges that
在
connects
岛上的游
the
客朋友们
island with
可
the
以
with
暂
the
时在酒店
continent
里面躲避一下，一
are
定要
now
关好自己
closed
的门
down.
窗，然后防止高空坠物，
And
因为
if you're
街头
on
时
the
会有东西
island at
从
the
天上掉
moment,
下来。
please stay in
那等
your
这个风
hotel
浪小一点
rooms
的
and
时
do
候
not
呢，
go
等这
outside
个
because there are
疏导
flying
的路通
objects
了，我们
everywhere.
也会通过我们的这个大小屏的新闻，包括我们今天晚间的广东广播电视台的几档新闻，来给大家实时的做播报。
We will be sending out the latest notification in terms of transportation controls. So please be patient and stay indoors and do not travel until further notice.
那么江门这么好的天气，不如可以坐在家里面泡一杯陈皮水啊。 我们看到有朋友说雷州没风没雨，但是我们了解到以台风行进的轨迹，那马鞍很有可能会下一步继续往湛江那边走，所以我们也提醒雷州的朋友们。
We are hearing comments from our viewers saying that the weather is just fine in their at their home. However, you need to watch closely the movement path of the typhoon because it's travel very quickly at the moment and might hit your area as time goes by.
稍早前我又看这个台风轨迹的时候，好像这个12级的风圈有没有啊？所以早一段时段我们在直播的时候，现场的这个风真的非常的大，体感应该是
Right now we are
12级的。
experiencing wind scale of force
有
about
阳江
of
市的朋友
force
说，市区
12.
的风浪也很大，确实，我们距
But
离也
what
不
we
是很远啊，
feel
肯定
is
市
actually
区的风也很
stronger
大
than
的。
force 12. I believe that because we are not very far away from the city center of Yangjiang, so the city center will also be massively hit by the typhoon. Our reporter Zhou Rong is now at the meteorological station to bring you the latest forecast. So please stay tuned, and we will update you once there are novel information.
那很好，我们现在在海陵岛这边也很期待着，一会儿我们这边能够风浪小一点。因为上个月的时候，
Our viewers were saying that the city center is not raining at the moment.
我们早上来之前也
I
跟
think
这边
it's
的
good
工作人
news
员
to
一直在
hear
了解
that.
情况，说上一次啊，其实大家没有想到会。灾后会带来这么大的农业和各方面的一个损失，那其实才过了1个多月的时间，台风马鞍又一次来袭，但是与上次不同的是，这次呢，海陵岛是已经提前做好了非常充分的一个准备的工作。
Last time this island was hit by the typhoon, so this time this time around we are better prepared. So when the typhoon lands, it was traveled at 30 to 33 kilometers per hour. But right now it's not fully landed. The exterior of the typhoon still constitute major impact on the surrounding area. So what suggestion do you have in terms of countermeasures? It has just landed, so this is still a very dangerous period of time. After it lands, it will be moving further inland. and as it moves inland, and it will be weakened. But currently, we need to stay on full alert. How strong will the wind be? I've previously mentioned about force 12, and will travel at a speed of about 30 to 33 kilometers per hour. So how long will it last? It will be continuing throughout the daytime of today and into the night. The afternoon will be much better than this morning, and by tomorrow morning, the impact will be lessened. And the eastern part will be feeling the impact of the typhoon more.
会有机会出现一些洪涝灾害的这些需要预警。
那洪涝灾害主要就是在粤西，像茂名啊、湛江以及阳春、阳江这一带，这些
warning for floods or mud flow be
甚
issued.
至泥石流等地质灾害的风险还是非常高的，所以需
Yes,
要
in parts
继续
of the
反映
region,
强降水
we
引发的相关灾害。
are witnessing high
在海边的这些
probability in
渔
terms
船是
of
不是也要
some
继续
geological
遵守相关的
disasters?
这些规定？
That's the calamity of
没
the
错，由于
typhoon.
马鞍刚刚登陆，
So, what suggestion
风呢
do
还没有减
you
弱，
have
所以
for the
临海
fishermen?
渔船以及作业的一些
Yes, for the
需要继
fishermen,
续待
the
在安全
wind
的地
is
方，
quite
等风
strong,
力明显
as
减弱
well
之
as
后，
the
方
rainfall.
可出海
Please
作业
stay
和施
in
工。
harbor and keep your boats in ports and avoid any offshore work at the moment.
好的，我是泽燕，我现在就在茂名电白的这个博鹤渔港。那可以看到，现在这个情况是在10点钟啊。
I'm in 茂名
City,
City, and this is a fishing port.
那现在目前的情况，我们可以看到现场是没有风也没有米，现在的情况是比较舒
According
适
to
的。
the
我们也可以从前
meteorological
方我们看到一些
station,
海面上我
Ma-on
们也看到
has
目前
already
整个的一个海
landed
水其实是
in
比较
茂
平静
名
的。其实我们现在所在的位
in
置
the
其实
coastal
就
area of
是
Maoming.
博鹤渔港
As
的
you
一个
can
渔
see,
政大队
the
的一个位置。
waters
那我
here
们这个海
is
对面的
quite
位置其实就
peaceful.
是对面的一个博鹤渔港。那为什么我们现在会在这个位置呢？那我们
Right
可以看到
across to us would
这
be
边
the
其实我们也看到有一
Bohe
个
fishing
博鹤湾
port.
大桥。那这个大桥是为了迎战这个台风马鞍的一个到来。那在昨天晚上的一个7点半之后，
Right now
目前是已
in
经
the
禁止
picture
一切的
is
车
the
辆跟行人
Bohe
通行。
Bridge,
那为了拍到
Bohe
这边
One
的一个
Bridge, and
也是
it's
观
right
察
now
到
being
实时的
closed
一个现在
down
的一个
due to the
博鹤渔
impact
港
of
位置。我们现
typhoon.
在就在这个渔政大队的一个位置。那我们也观察到，其实从今天早上4点多5点开始，其实在博鹤渔港这里其实就已经是有
So from 4 a.m. this morning,
风力是非常大的。那走在路面上，其实行人也是一个勉勉强强的
there
一个程
was
度。
very strong
记者来
wind
到
in the
现场
port,
这里的位置
but
大
right
概
now
是
it has
8点钟
been
的一个时候。
weakened.
那当时的现场的时候是有一些微微的小雨的，其
We
实风力也是
arrived
比较
here
大的。那我们
at
现在
8
其实可以看
a.m.
到，
this
其实现
morning.
场的雨
At
势
that
其实
time
是比
it
较小的，
was
风
a
力
bit
其实也是比
rainy
较小
and
的。虽然我们
windy,
现在还处于一个10级风
and
圈内，
now the
但是
rain
由于
has
这个台
almost
风登陆之
stopped.
后，还需要有下一段的一个时间，所以目前现场看到的情况
We
其实
are
还
not
是属于一个
experiencing
小
very
风小雨，
strong
但是我们
wind
还
at
是
the
要提
moment.
醒广大的一个街坊市民其实在家
But
里时时关注我
we
们这个台风
also
的一个
still
动
need
态。
to
非
stay
必要其实
alert
还是不要外出的。那
because
其实就在
the typhoon has just landed,
其实现场
and the longer it's moving past, the wind and the rain will get
那
stronger.
其实在接下来一段时间里在 茂名博鹤渔港这个位置，其实风雨也会慢慢的一个加强。那其实啊，在昨天晚上的一个时间里啊，茂名就已经将这个台风升级成了一个红色的一个预
Actually,
警，
yesterday, the city of Maoming has issued a red alert of typhoon,
也是实施一个5停的一个措施，
and we are now at the second level emergency response. Most of the public transport, the schools, and businesses were now shut down for the
电白
moment.
茂名的一个博鹤渔港，其实风力还有雨势都是比较小的，但是我们还是建议相关的市民我们不要外出，时时可以观看我们的一个直播间，包括了解当地的。
Despite the weak rain and rain at the moment, we suggest the local residents to stay indoors and stay tuned with our live broadcast for further reports and updates.
Good
morning, dear viewers. I'm Wang Siqi with CCTV, and currently I'm at the Zhuhai of Guangdong Province. As you can see, it is rainy here in Zhuhai at the moment. This is the coastal road of Zhuhai. This road is actually closed down temporarily for the moment. As you can see, there are a lot of palm trees. With the strong wind, the trees are shaking heavily, shaking violently at the moment. We are now very close to the coastal line. The seawater is now moving, it's now patting this bank. I could almost taste the salt in this sea wind. So from yesterday to today, Zhuhai has been experiencing very strong rainfall. In terms of wind, according to the weather forecast, Zhuhai is being hit with force 7 to 8, and in some places 10 to 12. level of wind.
刚刚我们得到最新消息，它已经在这个茂名的电白去登陆。那为什么它登陆虽然不在珠海，但是会对
According to the latest information, the typhoon has already been landed in Maoming, but it is not because it is not landed. It has not landed in Zhuhai. So why is Zhuhai experiencing the hit? Because Zhuhai is at the exterior circle of the typhoon, of the cyclone. So also we are not at the northern part of the ridge. So we are experiencing strong wind and rainfall.
其中叠加这个风暴潮的这个增水呢，是达到了80厘米。好，大家可以跟随我们的镜头看到，现场这个海浪还是在翻涌，而且这个海水的颜色呢，其实是偏黄的。我们现在所在的这个镜头给大家看到的这个范围。
From our lens, you can see the violent sea waves rushing to the banks.
港珠澳大桥，这个跨海大桥，港珠澳大桥就在我现在所在这个地方面前。
Also, the famous Hong Kong Macau and Zhuhai Bridge is at the far end of our camera at the moment and is being has been temporarily shut down for the moment.
根据这个气象部门的最新预报，那预计今天早晨到今天中午，珠海市的这个
According to the latest weather forecast, from this morning to afternoon, the strong gale will continue together with storm and strong rainfall. As we walk along the coastal road, we can feel that the sea level continues to rise. So the high tide will continue for about 1 to 2 hours. Zhuhai is a very special city with a lot of customs that connect Zhuhai with Macau. Actually, typhoon will also have an impact on the customs. According to our latest information, parts of the customs were temporarily shut down for the moment. I'm afraid you cannot see the bridge very clearly, but I can tell you that it's right behind me. The bridge and the customs on the bridge were also closed down for the moment. In terms of city transport, we can say that the city is temporarily also most of the public transport is now suspended, and also there are some cross-city trains and shuttle buses that are being closed down. And all of the flights at the Zhuhai airport has now been cancelled. As you can see, the rain, it's still raining heavily at the moment, and my hair is completely damped and soaked. The sea level is still rising. According to the weather forecast of yesterday, they have issued the warning for storm.
今天上午一度雨势是有暂停的一个情况，但是根据气象部门的预测，果然它此后这个雨也是非常的大的。
And the rain is expected to get even stronger as time goes by.
那刚刚呢，我们说完了这个陆地交通，还有这个珠海机场的这个航班。那在这个海上航线方面呢，那
We mentioned airports, rail transport.
所有往返海岛
In terms of
九州港、横琴码头这些所有的海上航线都是已经暂停。
In terms of water transport, all of the travel routes on sea were now also closed. You are not allowed to travel on sea at the moment.
很快的采取了这个应急的一个措施。我了解到呢，是从昨天晚上。
So the local government actually responds very quickly and in a timely fashion. From yesterday, the Disaster Prevention Authority has kick-off the level 2 emergency response. That was 1 day away from the landing of the typhoon, but I think it's necessary to have this kind of early response. From that moment on, all the resorts, the coastal beaches and recreational locations were closed down. As I mentioned before, this is Qinglü-Zhonglu Road, which is a very popular scenic spot for the local residents and tourists that come from afar. But as you can see, there are no one on the roads, basically no one on the roads.
大家可以看到啊，刚刚过去的这个应急处置的这个车辆，其实今天我们在这个整个海岸线也是不时的经过。
The staff in the hotel where I stay, the staff members, they actually remind me to stay away from the coastal line. Besides the temporary closing down of public places, the city government also made public some evacuation site for residents to seek shelter. Almost 20,000 residents seek temporary shelter in these locations. As a coastal city, Zhuhai has a lot of fishing boats and has a very developed fishing business. But right now, all of the fishing boats have stopped working on shore, working offshore. All of them are now in ports.
除此之外呢，从昨天开始，珠海市的这个3防指挥部就严格落实了这个全市的各个易涝点和易水浸点的一个风险。
The Disaster Prevention Office of the local government also did a round of checks to prevent any possible risks and loopholes in the countermeasures. I actually saw staff workers checking the conditions of the trees at the side of the road yesterday.
我们可以看到啊，我们镜头看到的这个范围之内，这个海浪是在不停的翻涌，然后打到这个岸边。
This is the coastal line of the South Sea. You can see that there are still raging waves that continues to rush onto the banks.
这个相较于平时其实就有高80厘米左右，因为它这个80厘米就是这次台风马鞍带来的。
The sea level is right now about 80 centimeters higher than normal times. This is due to the impact of Ma-on.
大家可以通过现场看到，就是整个它的这个能见度，因为降水的原因并不是很高。
I think the visibility is not very good at the moment because the rainfall is really strong. In terms of countermeasure, the The power generation units of the local government also have deployed some emergency generators to guard against any possible calamities that is brought about by the typhoon. We can now see vaguely the bridge, the main bridge, as well as the customs. All of them are temporarily shut down. And the offshore routes for ships are also shut down. If we come closer to the coastal line, there are some platforms where you can enter and take some pictures or do some casual walks, but now it's being closed with this kind of roadblocks. There are also sandbags down there to prevent the sea water from submerged. Let's continue. This is a quite long coastal road, but it was basically emptied for the morning. We can only see some trucks with emergency responsibilities. As you can see, the palm trees are shaking. Many of the branches were broken. According to the weather forecast, the rainfall will continue throughout the day, and so is the wind. And in some places, we will be experiencing extreme violent rain and wind. Right now you can see relatively clear this Hong Kong, Macau and Zhuhai bridge. The bridge and its connecting customs are shut down for the moment, and we will notify you the time for restoration when we receive the notice.